Hello everybody, my name is Zen and welcome to my impressions for the Oblivion Remaster. Now, I would say that this is probably a pretty poor kept secret in the games industry, that this was going to be coming out, especially that it was going to be coming out this week, but I'm really glad that it is finally announced and shadow dropped today, because I've been looking forward to this since I heard about it a while ago, and then I kind of forgot about it, and now it's here, and it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of a cool little thing to check out. So we're gonna talk about my thoughts on it so far, and discuss what I think about the remaster in general, in addition to what might be coming from Bethesda in the future as well. And I'll also be talking about my experience with Oblivion when I was younger and how that has affected basically all of my gaming experience since then. It was actually a fairly big deal in my life when this game came out. But before we get to any of that, let's talk about the details. What's going on here? Well, the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion has been remastered, or so they say. It's more like a remake, but the reason they're not calling it a remake is because the engine under the hood of what's actually going on is Oblivion, but it's all in Unreal Engine 5 now, so it looks really pretty. And they've also redone a little bit of things here and there, like the UI and whatnot. In fact, their official list of stuff that they say is in this are HUD, menu, and map reworks, and those are all definitely prevalent. They work really well. I'm super happy with it so far. Improved UI for systems like Persuasion, Clairvoyance, and more, they say. I've noticed some of that so far in just my little bit of playing. There's modifications to how leveling works, encumbrance, non-combat perks, and other mechanics, and I can't wait to talk about the non-combat perks one, because actually it's kind of fun. Improved enemy scaling, so as you level up, they will scale with you, and it won't be one way or the other where it's like you're so overpowered or they're so overpowered. Enhanced accessibility features, those are definitely in there. Additional autosaves, I've noticed those. It's been really nice seeing those pop up, and revised first person and third person cameras. But the biggest thing is, of course, the graphical remake here. It is running in Unreal Engine 5, and it is gorgeous. And not only that, but it runs fantastic. I've yet to try it on my Xbox Series X, currently downloading downstairs, and I'll jump in later. So if there ends up being an issue with it on the console, I will make sure I put out a follow-up video, but I doubt that there will be, because generally when they're releasing a game, it usually runs pretty well on the console itself. So I was more worried about the PC release, because as of the last few years, that's the ones that we really have to worry about. But I can confidently say that it runs phenomenally. My computer is fairly beastie, so, keep that in mind. But it does have all of the new bells and whistles. We've got NVIDIA DLSS. We have NVIDIA Reflex, and also frame generation. And that's just worked. It's worked really, really well so far. I've not noticed any frame dipping. There's been a couple times where the game is loading something and it chugs for just a second. There's like a minor hitch, but that seems to have only happened once or twice in my time playing so far, and that's actually not too noticeable, and I'm totally okay with it being there. And I think I'm noticing the hitch because it's going from like 200 frames per second down to 60 right for a second. So that is noticeable when you have a high frame rate monitor like I do, but when you're actually playing the game, and if you're playing on console, are you really going to notice that? Probably not. But I will say that the graphics are fantastic. Now, this is a full-priced game. You could go buy it, or you could just do the smart thing and just be a Game Pass member. It's on both Game Pass for PC and Game Pass for the console, and it's a great deal, Game Pass in general. But the fact that this is now on there and it just shadow dropped and you can just go download it and play it if you have Game Pass, that's what I'm doing, and it's a freaking fantastic experience. I'm loving it. Will I buy the game? Probably not, because I don't really see a reason not to have Game Pass for me at the moment. It works for my family. It gives us a variety of different games to be able to play. and my kids love it. So I think that's the big part of it for me, is that I really love being able to play Game Pass Plus. Right now, there's insane games coming to Game Pass. Like, we just had Blueprints just drop. That's been really fun. And then this week we have Expedition 33, or was it Obscura Expedition 33? It looks fantastic. It doesn't really matter. There's just really good games on there to be able to play. So this being added to it as well feels like an insane deal. There is a deluxe edition, or a digital deluxe edition, that it has an upgrade available on Game Pass for like $10, but you can get the full version of the game with the deluxe edition as well. And it comes with some like little DLC things, some extra armor and weapons and horse armor, which I find hilarious that they've added that in as a DLC. Because if you didn't know, going way back when this game first came out, this is one of the first games, if not the first game, that really introduced DLC to people. And it was horse armor, and people hated that as an idea back then. And it's funny to see how far we have come in hindsight to the idea of DLC in general and what actually is involved in that. And the fact that they've added horse armor DLC with some actual like armor and weapons, and there's like a digital art book and soundtrack and everything as well. That's like... That's par for the course nowadays, so it just kind of seems like it fits. I could see people getting upset over that kind of dumb thing, but honestly, I kind of like it. I'm not going to get it, but I kind of like that it's there. But those are the details of the game, of, you know, how it's randomly shadow dropped and all of the stuff that's involved with it. But let's jump back in time to the early 2000s when this game released. And let's kind of talk about how influential it actually ended up being on the games industry as a whole. Now, you will look at this game and maybe you never played it, or maybe you were around when it came out, but you just never jumped into it. The thing is, a lot of the stuff in here were either firsts or first for a major game to be doing. And that has culminated in modern games taking a lot of the same stuff and using it in their RPG mechanics as well. You know, let's talk about something simple like character creation. The little sliders for changing your face and moving the eyes and nose around. Love that it's here. This was actually the first time back in the day that I got to experience a character creator that had the face sliders and being able to like adjust the distance between the eyes. And that always freaked me out the first time I saw it, because it's just unsettling to look at as someone's eyes go from where they are on their face to either closer together or further apart. And I remember that experience so vividly, making my character for the first time in this game, because I hadn't ever seen anything like that before. Now, I don't think Oblivion was the very first game to do it, but it was the biggest. And then from then on, we're seeing that kind of stuff in RPGs in the future, and we see it in just about every RPG now, being able to adjust your face and whatnot. Like Dragon Age the Veilguard has that kind of stuff in it, and it allows you to really adjust your character and how it looks and make it your own. And I don't think we would have necessarily have gotten there in the same way unless Oblivion had come out and done it first. And there's a couple other things here, like the way that the skills work and how you level up. It was very tabletop RPG based, in the fact that you kind of had to be using the skill in order to get better at it. For example, in Oblivion, if you want to have a better skill in heavy armor, well, you got to be wearing heavy armor. And I love that. I love that idea, because it means that you kind of take the idea of what you want to do with your character and you just double down on it and you do more of that thing. If you really want to use bows, you're going to get better using bows as you go. And for those of you who've played Skyrim, which is most people, this is not a new concept to you. But when Oblivion came out, it hit in such a big mainstream way that the previous titles did not. You know, Morrowind did not necessarily hit the same way as Oblivion did. It didn't reach the same amount of people. And because of that, the skill-based systems that we see in Oblivion and in Skyrim are kind of the first for a lot of people. And I find that so fascinating, because it gives a context for RPGs today that we necessarily wouldn't have had if this game didn't come out and wasn't as popular as it was. And those are just some of the changes and effects that it had on the industry of being able to see this stuff in the games that we play today. But this also had a absurd effect on the people who played the game to begin with. And I'm one of those people. And so I remember I was a senior in high school when this game came out. I was a PlayStation boy. I had the PlayStations up until that point, at PlayStation 1 and 2. PlayStation 3 was looking mighty enticing, and I had just gotten into PC gaming around 2003 because World of Warcraft was getting ready to release, and I had gotten invited into the alpha, and my dad and I, we built a gaming PC for me, and that's kind of where I started to veer towards, was getting into PC gaming instead of just gaming on the console. And I didn't bother buying the Xbox at the time, and I was really interested in the 360 and everything going on with the console generations, but it was just not my place to game there anymore. I was definitely a PC boy. And so at the time that this game came out, I was in that transition phase of moving to PC. And I also, having been, grown on the PlayStation, essentially, I was playing a lot, and I mean a lot, of JRPGs, a lot of Final Fantasy, for example. Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy X were two of the bigger games that I just devoted hundreds of hours into, beat multiple times when I was a kid. And I hadn't really experienced many Western RPGs, and you would get a lot of that on PC for sure, like Neverwinter Nights, for example, or even old Baldur's Gate. But to say that I had enjoyed those games, I think would be disingenuous, because I had played one or two of them, but I was so into the JRPGs at that point that I never really opened my eyes to Western RPGs so much. And then came this time that I was a senior in high school, and my friend and I went over to another friend's house, and he happened to have just purchased Oblivion. It had come out that month, and he was sitting there playing it when we got to his house, and he was like, having some fun, just running in the open world. And he was like, dude, you got to check this game out. And so I sat there and I watched him play it for like 10 minutes. And I was like, this seems really cool. Do you mind if I try? And he's like, yeah, why don't you, because I don't want you messing with my save, why don't you make a new game, make a new character and start the game fresh? And so I did. I started making my character, and they sat and watched me do it. And he kind of explained a little bit of what was going on with the stats and everything. And they watched me for maybe 20, 30 minutes of making my character and getting through a little bit of the intro of the game. And we had gone over to his house because we had something else that we were going to do later that afternoon. But he saw that I was having so much fun. He was like, do you just want to sit here and play the game? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, well, me and this other friend of ours, we're going to go do the thing, and then you could just sit here and play. And then when I come back, you can then leave with the guy you came with. I was like, that's kind of weird that I'm just going to sit in your house for a few hours while you go off and do this little event and then come back. I was like, but sure, yeah, I'll absolutely do that. So I sat in his house for about 3 hours playing this game, and it hooked me. As soon as I got back home, I told my dad all about it, and it led to us purchasing the game and me getting really, really into it. I beat Oblivion a couple times with different various characters, but I always seemed to jump between two. It was either the battle mage, having like a sword and some magic and heavy armor, and the archer, because most people play these kind of games as an archer at one point or another. And I really, really loved it. I loved jumping in and doing like the arena quest where you're going and doing like arena battles. There's also I don't remember what it was called exactly, but the Assassin's Guild, I think is what it was. Like that whole quest line really stuck with me. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed the hell out of this game. And it actually changed how I played games, because I was so into JRPGs that this game kind of rocked the way that I thought about playing games. And it was from then on I got really into Western RPGs. I played through so many games that I hadn't really played before. And to this day, I've not really touched much JRPGs since then. I've done a handful here and there, but man, I am like all in on Western RPGs, and it was because of this game right here that it changed the course of how I viewed and played games. And this is the thing, I'm not the only one. This is the same story for so many people out there that, you know, you look at this kind of experience that you're playing in the background, you don't realize how impactful it was, how influential it was for so many people back in the day, and it was. So if you're one of these people who've never played Oblivion, go download this and play it. Get Game Pass, right? It's cheap. Get Game Pass, go download it and play it. Just have fun this week. And then also, you know, maybe go check out some of the other Game Pass games because they're fantastic as well. But man, this is such a cool, influential title that they've gone in and really respectfully updated. This isn't a remake, but it definitely feels like a remake because of all of the stuff that they've added and changed and how well it runs. But it is still a remaster in the fact that the stuff under the hood is still running Oblivion as it was. I love the little things like the passive non-combat skills. So for example, for those of you who've played the game, you know, there is this athletic skill and you can get it up by just running around. Oh, by the way, sprint is now a thing. It wasn't in the original. You can now sprint just like you could in Skyrim and whatnot. It's a cool thing. But the athletic skill is interesting in the fact that the way that you would level it up to begin with early on in the game, if you wanted to get your athletic skill higher, was actually to just jump around. Just everywhere you were going, you were just jumping, and you would go through all of your stamina jumping. You would let it regenerate as you walked really slow, and then you would continue jumping after that, and your athletic skill would just like rapidly increase. It was just like this fun little weird quirky thing that players would do, and most people would figure out how to do that fairly early on, and so your athletic skill would be like insanely high at some points. And the way the scaling in the game works, didn't necessarily like that sometimes. So it was just kind of a funny little quirky thing, and that's not the only one. There's a lot of weird little things in this. There's a whole like bartering system or persuasion system that you're using to get characters to do or say things. And there's also crafting. There's a lot of crafting and a lot of like alchemy and stuff that you take for granted, I think, in Skyrim, but works in a different way, in a cool way, in Oblivion. And I can't understate how much it's fun to go back and re-experience this. It does feel like a classic RPG, but in a way that isn't getting in your way. They've updated things in such a way that the game feels streamlined. It feels like a modern game, but it's got those like real classic influences there, even though those classic influences are just what the game really is. And some of those things have been updated to make it a little more user friendly. And I love that the feel of the actual game is retained in this remaster. And, you know, honestly, it gets me wondering what's up with the next one. Are we going to get a Fallout 3 remaster? I would say, yeah, obviously, duh, that is totally coming. If this wasn't evidence enough of just watching how successful this has been for them, it is absolutely going to be coming. So we will eventually get a Fallout 3 remaster. I can see that. Maybe even a Fallout 4. And I think there's this funny little thing that has happened, which is kind of unfortunate at the same time, that the mod developers who were importing Oblivion into Skyrim, essentially remaking Oblivion in Skyrim because they wanted a more modern experience. We're now at a weird situation where this game is so pretty. It looks like Skyrim with all of the mods on and runs 100 times better. So at what point are we going to get Skyrim being imported into the Oblivion engine here? I could see it happening, honestly. And the whole modding scene in general is going to be really exciting for this, seeing what people do to update or change the game. Like maybe taking some things back to how it was, like for these diehard players, you know, taking sprint away and whatnot. I think that would be really interesting to see what changes people end up making and what ends up sticking, what kind of mods end up being really good, or what kind of mods from Oblivion do we see make a return just in the remake. I think it's going to be fascinating to see all of that in general, and I'm really excited about it. But yes, they are absolutely going to do Fallout 3 at this point, because this has been a huge success story. And Fallout 3 is one of those weird games that I really like and I got really into, but I never put the crazy amount of time into it that I did Oblivion or Skyrim or Fallout 4. And so I'm really curious to see if that comes out in maybe time with the show, when the next season comes out with the show. I think that would be freaking fantastic if they were able to do that. But is it likely? I don't know. There's a lot of spinning plates there, because you have the fact that the show was... They knew that it was going to be good, but I don't think they knew it was going to be as successful as it was. And to be able to fast track a remake for Fallout 3, I think that would have been a huge priority for the publisher, or rather the publishing side of Bethesda, to be able to get that out with the next season. I think that they really would have liked to be able to do something with Fallout 76 a lot better than they did with the launch of the show, but I don't think they were really expecting that show to perform as well as it did. So we're in this weird situation, right, where I think they are absolutely going to do Fallout 3. Whether or not they go back and do like a Skyrim remake, that'd be really weird, because that game has released so many freaking times in different ways, like the special edition and ultimate edition and whatnot, over the years, and it would be kind of cool to see them put it in the Unreal Engine as well. I think that would be fantastic. But those are kind of my general thoughts on it. I actually want to know what you guys think of the Oblivion Remaster. Let me know in the comments what you think of the shadow drop of it, how it's performing so far, and what are your stories playing this game? Because I think that the human element there of how we all experience this game in one way or another, or maybe you didn't, is a far more interesting tale than just like, hey, look at all the stuff that they've changed here. Because again, this game was so influential in such a way that a lot of people maybe don't even understand the huge effects that it's had on the industry since it came out. But if you liked this video, hit the like button so that way we can try and share this game with more people. I guarantee you there's people out there who still won't pick this game up, even with the remaster being freely available to everybody now. And that's kind of a shame. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to support the channel and everything I do here, you can use the join button down below to become a channel member. With all of that being said, I'm gonna go no life this game for the rest of the day. It's gonna be freaking awesome, and we shall see you all next time.